Hello everyone, in this video I am going to show you how to create this real watercolor like digital watercolor painting in the app IBS Paintex. So here I am going to tell you step by step in detail about creating that texture. So for that, the first main thing you have to concentrate is the background. So there are many background provided by the IBS Paintex. I am using watercolor paper 1. So this is the texture, and I'm going to use only two brushes for this entire illustration. One is watercolor edge and another one is watercolor point. First of all, I'm using watercolor edge brush and drawing a leaf and flower. This is only for our reference purpose, so for the final artwork these outlines will not be visible, so you can try whatever you want and check what it works. So then I reduce the opacity of the layer and going to draw the real watercolor paintings. For that I'm using lasso tool. So and to add more detail I'm just using the subtract tool to remove some parts from the already having we have lasso selection, right? From to remove that I'm using subtract option. So then I'm using watercolor edge brush. First I'm going to use the maximum opacity, then I'm going to reduce the opacity of it to one set, so it's like a gradually reduced opacity, something like that. So then I'm using watercolor point brush to blend them together. For that, first I'm going to spray a little bit with the same color, and then I'm using a mild pink color to blend them to create some texture. So it looks like a real watercolor, right? So if you don't understand why I'm doing all those things, so first we are needing some details. For that I'm using this, and to add more details, white details from the selected area I used the subtract option available, the lasso. Then so for the real watercolor it's not going to be like all same color. So for that sake I am using darker color at the one side. Instead of using some lighter color, I am just reducing the opacity of the same color to create such details. So then I'm using the watercolor point brush to blend them. So for the blending, first I'm just using the same purple color, spraying few times, and then using the mild pink color to blend furthermore and to add some little bit pinkish shade. So the main thing you have to take in mind is the main brush we are using is watercolor edge. So watercolor point brush is only to blend the details together. The details is mainly given by the watercolor edge brush, so you can add more like a watercolor watery leaking texture, all those things you can add using the watercolor edge brush. So if you want more texture, like a when you add watercolor over your already dried watercolor, you will get some more watercolor like texture, water texture. For those things you can use the watercolor edge brush to add those textures. So then for the stem drawing I used watercolor edge brush. Then in the same layer itself I'm going to draw the flower. For flower I'm going to use the same steps, nothing new. So here also I'm using a lasso tool, and for adding some more, removing some more areas slightly like strokes from the selected area, I will use the subtract option available with the lasso. Then with the darkness at the one side and reduce to opacity at the other corner. So in that manner I am using watercolor edge brush. Then using watercolor point brush I'm just blending them together. This gives really good watercolor texture. So I just want something like a Procreate like art. So for that sake I searched, and I searched various various type of Procreate artworks, watercolor tutorials, and I don't know which brush from IBS Paintex looks at least 80 to 70% similar to the Procreate watercolor brush. So I just tried so many brushes, all the brushes from the watercolor brushes available in the IBS Paintex, and ended up with these two brushes. These two brush gives real watercolor like texture compared to all other things. So one of the main thing you have to make in mind is, I just forgot to mention showing the video, is use the force fade option. Keep the force fade option on while using these brushes, so it will give real it will make a real difference while using the watercolor. So then I'm adding the center details using the watercolor edge brush. So here you can see I'm using multiple colors in that. So here I'm giving some extra tip for you. So if you are adding any background details for this watercolor work, for example I'm showing it now. So if I use right away, if I add some details at the background using watercolor paint, all the details in the main artwork will get reduced in details, because the lower layer all together we getting one layer like thing. So the details get how to say, underrated, something like that. So for that sake, make use of magic wand tool. Select the areas except that artwork. Once you select that area, then next in a below layer use any brush to create those details. So in that manner the original artwork, watercolor artwork, will not be influenced by any other background details. So here is the final details. You can see the lower layer only have details other than the artwork area. So now if you want some more watercolor drops like details, you can use the watercolor edge brush itself here and there. So for example I'm just showing, I'm not much concentrating on this. So here I'm showing with a pink background and without a pink background, both artworks in final. So here is the two artworks with all the texture as much as possible. I bring out like a real watercolor painting. I tried as much as possible. I hope you like this. If you like my tutorial, please subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.